we couldn't come to Washington, D.C. without seeing the most famous NDSU alum on a big week. Secretary Doug Burgum, good to see you.
Well, I don't know about the most famous, especially when we got all these another generation of national champion football players from North Dakota State coming to the White House tomorrow. But it's an honor to be in this position, and it's an honor to have you here with us here today, Scott.
And we saw some of the fun things that came with you from North Dakota, including that famous elk above us here. Petey, you call him?
Well, Pete, short for Wapiti, the native name for elk, but this was, I drew my once-in-a-lifetime North Dakota elk tag several years before I became governor, and this was the result of 8 days of hiking around the Badlands in Slope County.
I love it. And you got the Bison here, and by the way, I happen to notice the Wi-Fi is named Bison here. Is that a change in the new administration?
No, it was one of the great surprises. This place, of course, in the flag behind you, the Department of Interior flag has been since 1849. Big bison in the middle of it. There's bison doorknobs. There's bison on the light fixtures. I mean,
this is all meant to be.
If you're an NDSU grad, this is the place you want to work because there are bison everywhere in here. And of course, as is fitting, because Senator Hoeven, Senator Kramer, and others all worked to get the bison to be the national mammal just a few years ago. The United States never had a mammal, so now it's perfect. The bison is the top animal for the U.S.
This, I know you're a student of history, and this place has much of it. What does this feel like to be leading this department?
Well, it's an amazing Department of Interior to have the opportunity to lead it. And if you think about it, if it was a standalone company, Scott, it would have the largest balance sheet in America. I mean, largest balance sheet in the world. I mean, bigger than Saudi Aramco. I mean, it's 500 million acres of surface that we've got responsibility for, 700 million acres of subsurface, and 2.5 billion of offshore. We've got the territories all the way from the Pacific, American Samoa to U.S. Virgin Islands. Those are all part of our responsibility. And who knows, maybe we'll have another territory called Greenland that we have to deal with. But we have that. And of course, Alaska, which is the size of Montana, California, Texas, and New Mexico. Huge amount of federal lands up there across all this. 574 recognized federal tribes. Many of those, like our own MHA Nation in North Dakota, that are important energy tribes. Been having important meetings with the Alaska Native corporations, with the Navajo. They're all eager to get back in the energy game to help bring prosperity to their communities. So we got that responsibility. National parks, U.S. Fish and Wildlife, and then all the offshore that we have to deal with through. It's got 16% of the U.S. oil production comes from offshore, and all of that's regulated through the Bureau of Energy Management, which is a Department of Interior. Bureau of Reclamation, also part of Interior. We can just keep on going. Number 2 electric producer in the country from hydroelectric is the Bureau of Reclamation. Number 1, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. So the federal government is number 1 and number 2 hydro producer, and we've got a role to play there. So anyway, it's a fantastic, and instead of being called the Department of Interior, they maybe rename it Department of Exterior. It's all this outdoors stuff, and of course it's also could be called the Department of Everything, which is sometimes its nickname in DC because there's just a lot of amazing things happening here. But that balance sheet, all those assets, they belong to the American people. And we all know there's $36.5 trillion of debt because it gets pounded into the mindset every time we have a presidential election of here's how big our debt is. But we need to start talking about how large our assets are. And I have not been able to find a balance sheet in Washington, D.C. that is anywhere close to accurate that reflects what the value is of all of these assets I've described. What's the value of our national parks? What's the value of 2 billion plus offshore acres of underwater that could be filled with critical minerals and we know there's oil and gas, but there's an opportunity for development there with innovation coming. I mean, all of these are assets of this amazing nation we have, and so our assets could be triple what our debt is? Maybe more. The president thinks it's a lot higher than that. But if we had a balance sheet that was super healthy, that had 3, 4, or 5 times as much on our asset side as our debt side, I think we'd see the long-term interest rate drop the next day if we could actually show it to the world that here's our balance sheet. So we're going to go try to figure that out. But in the meantime, those assets, we've got to get a return for the American people. When Theodore Roosevelt put these away, they were for the benefit and the use and the enjoyment of the American people. And part of that benefit means sustainably developing them and actually getting a return. If we're the world's largest manager of natural resources, we also have the world's worst returns because we're pulling in virtually no revenue, and this is the prior administration was slowing up permitting for timber.
They're going the wrong direction.
Yeah.
Of all those assets you're talking about, what percentage are off limits to any kind of energy development, would you say?
Well,
it's a small percentage that we're using, isn't it?
Yeah, the stuff, I mean, I'll give you one example. In the National Strategic Petroleum Reserve in Alaska, which there was a big battle under the Biden administration, it's a petroleum reserve. They wanted to do a little bit of petroleum development up there, and they were trying to stop that. It's the size of Indiana. The Strategic Petroleum Reserve in Alaska is almost exactly the size of Indiana, 36,000 square miles. The company that's doing the work up there uses less than a half section. People in North Dakota know what a section is. We're talking about 180 acres. It's barely a quarter. 360-acre pads is what they're doing it on. So take one on the top divided by 72,000. Less than a half square mile out of 36,000 square miles for that development. So we can barely literally scratch the surface and produce all kinds of revenue for the American public.
To the point where the debt of $36 some odd trillion continues to shrink, right?
Yes. Yeah.
That's the low-hanging fruit in lowering that debt.
Yeah, lower the fiscal deficit every year because we've got more revenue coming in. Long-term, start paying off that debt. That's what we can do. And we can do all that, and we can protect all of our best places. We don't have to come anywhere close to any of our national parks. We don't have to, all the special places. We can preserve all of those and do development. It's not just oil and gas, it's also critical minerals. I mean, we're desperately behind China, and a lot of this federal land in states like Nevada's 80% federal land, Utah's 60% federal land, Wyoming over 40% federal land. When we're choking off and shutting down federal land, we're also infringing on states' rights because these states have a right to be able to grow their communities, develop their resources.
Wow. 78 days of the Trump administration. I think you've been in this job 68 days, if my math is correct. And you're talking about big things. On the granular level, what are you most excited about? What boulders are you moving quickly in that short time?
Well, I think one of the things that's most exciting is that President Trump understood that the previous administration used a whole of government approach to try to shut down all development. Again, timber, critical minerals, oil and gas, housing development on public lands. We're just trying to shut it all down, and we need to get a return for Americans on those lands. So President Trump understands that. But from an energy standpoint, because they were using a whole of government to stop it, we needed a whole of government approach to unleash energy. So he created by executive order the National Energy Dominance Council.
I like that addition, by the way, to the name.
Yeah, well, it's a little bit like AC/DC. You put a lightning bolt in the middle. NEDC, you can remember if you're into aging Australian rock.
Next to the golden age of America, too.
That are still Australian rock bands that are still touring,
right,
from the last 60 years. But with that, we already had the National Economic Council inside the White House, and the NEDC is a White House-based operation. A small tiger team kind of operates more like a governor's office in that if there's a project that needs to be done, like the 800-mile Alaska LNG pipeline, here's an opportunity for us to sell energy to our friends and allies, Japan, the Philippines, Vietnam, South Korea, Taiwan. All of those countries are desperately energy short. They've got, Japan, it's got 120 million people in the size of North and South Dakota with no oil and gas. It's 25 days for a ship to come from the Middle East. It's 8 days from Alaska. What would they pay for energy security to have a supply chain that comes along the Aleutian Islands versus through the South China Sea? China's got the largest navy in the world, 300 ships. If there's a conflict around Taiwan in the South China Sea and the Taiwanese Straits, we could say Japan could be out of energy in 2 weeks.
And talk about national security threats to all those countries you mentioned. The president right now is leaning in on trade, obviously going where the puck is going, not where it is, in a big way. And this town doesn't understand, this markets don't understand that. But what you just talked about right there is part of that end game, isn't it? EU and these other countries and the energy that we have in bountiful supply going to those places is a big part of this whole trade debate, isn't it?
Well, absolutely. And President Trump has included Chris Wright, the fantastic new Secretary of Energy, and myself in conversation when we've had world leaders here, like the Prime Minister Modi from India, the Prime Minister of Japan. We're right engaged in those state meetings, those state dinners. And the topic is, okay, we got a trade deficit between our two countries. How about you buy more defense equipment from us? How about you buy more ag products from us? How about you buy more energy from us? I mean, those are the big three things that we could be selling to any, because we
want to help you. We're an ally, not an adversary.
Right, and then we improve our prosperity here because we're shipping the things that we're good at, energy and food, and then we improve their national security, our allies, because they get a reliable source of supply. If they're buying, I mean, some of these countries that I mentioned in the North Pacific are starting to fall in the same trap as Western Europe. They're buying gas from Russia. I mean, any of our allies should not be buying gas from Russia, right? If they're an adversary of ours, they should be buying it from us, from that, again, the security that they need to provide to their own countries.
Let's talk about the tariff battle a little bit and how that's been received. Obviously, markets swinging back and forth, a little bit of green yesterday, a lot of green today. Bring us inside the conversation. It seems like, to me, the president has a healthy debate even on his team among sort of Elon Musk and some of the business titans over here, some of whom are even in the cabinet, and then over here some of the folks that are a bit more disruptors. How does he sift through all that noise and get to signal? And is he at all saying, we need to pump the brakes on this?
Well, President Trump had a very clear vision for decades about how we've not had fair trade. The U.S. has been open to friend and foe. Our market's generally open. People can sell into us, and then in return, we're unable to sell to them. And our farmers know that well. Where it doesn't matter whether it's the wheat pools in Canada or whether it's restrictions overseas. Many of these markets have been closed off to us for us selling our products to them, but ours are open to them selling into the United States. And so this is just about getting to a balance. And I think the fact that you've seen that the signal is the smart money's on America long term. Trillions of dollars are flowing here for manufacturing and the reshoring of all these supply chains. But then also we got over 50 countries, including some of our most important trading partners, have all got on the phone and saying, now we're ready to start negotiating. We know you're serious. Let's figure out a way to lower these tariff barriers, these non-monetary tariff barriers that have restricted the ability for us to move the things that we want to sell to the world, to try to make it more fair for Americans. And President Trump is, he is the best equipped president we've ever had that knows how to actually negotiate and do deals, particularly if it relates to business deals. Trade is all about business, and I have a lot of confidence we're going to end up in a great spot, a better spot than where we started.
The president's early on done some executive orders on energy, another one yesterday. What will this do?
Well, the announcement that he made yesterday related to coal was fantastic. I mean, this is a
clean, beautiful coal, as he says.
Yeah, clean, beautiful coal, and it is clean. If there's a power generation plant running today that's powered by coal in America, it's clean. I just tell the public it's clean, because why? It's survived from the day that Obama took office. It's been under assault, regulatory assault.
People forget. 2008 candidate for president Barack Obama said, I think it was a San Francisco Examiner editorial board meeting, we need electricity prices to necessarily skyrocket to inflict our agenda. He didn't use inflict, that's my words, but think about what they've been doing way back to 2008.
Yeah, and of course, President Trump's all about making America affordability. Under Biden, where they continued that Obama thing, electricity prices soared, and part of that was the premature shutdown of a bunch of our base load and the massive subsidization of intermittent, unreliable, expensive sources like solar and wind. And people say, oh, it's not expensive. No, we're subsidizing it with everybody's tax dollars, and we need the entire grid. We still need all of the other base load that comes from fossil fuels and nuclear to make the whole system work. So it was, the plan that the Biden administration had around the electric grid defied physics, it defied economics, it defied common sense. It was super expensive, and it
caused a lot of coal plants to shutter.
Yes, and now
retirements that are happening.
Yeah, and then they were artificially creating demand for electricity by saying we're going to outlaw internal combustion cars and trucks, and tractors. That's going away. Everything's going to be an EV. Well, China controls 85% of the rare earth mineral processing. So if you want to run something on an EV, you got an 85% chance that you're on Team China. I mean, that is not a good strategy for the U.S. for long term, for us to take all of our transportation and make it dependent on an adversary. I mean, it makes no sense at all. Liquid fuels, that's Team USA. We can produce them here in the U.S. and we can produce them cleaner, smarter, safer, healthier than anyone else.
I want to go into a bit of a lightning round here so we can get everything in with you, but all of those executive orders do a great thing, and coal is a good example. I mean, coal has been under attack, so they're obviously seeing a breath of fresh air with what's going on right now, but they also only really see a 4-year lane, right? So how do you take those executive orders, get them codified in law, and what would you say to the coal industry, the oil and gas industry about long-term planning? A lot of people are saying, well, Trump's in now, we're good, but they aren't good long-term, are they yet?
Well, not yet, but I mean, durability is a key part of the strategy here. And of course, if we get Congress to pass laws, that's fantastic. But there's also other ideas we have. We know that pipelines have been a huge area. We need more pipelines to move natural gas in this country. We need natural gas to produce electricity. We need those coal plants for electricity. And part of this, Scott, is we're in an AI arms race, artificial intelligence arms race with China. And that arms race is going to be won on two planes. One is on technology. We lead China on technology. The other is who can produce the most electricity. China is crushing us right now. They're building 30 nuclear plants. They've opened up close to 100 gigawatts of coal in the last year. 1 gigawatt is enough for Denver. I mean, that's Denver. They've done like 100 Denver's worth of new coal generation. They've got hundreds of billions they're spending on hydro. They understand that right now a kilowatt of electricity is worth more today than it ever has been, because you can take that kilowatt of electricity and in an AI data center, you're actually manufacturing intelligence. You can turn electricity into intelligence. The country that wins that race is going to provide national security. They're going to have the strongest economy. You're going to be in a position to cure cancer, and unimaginable positive things happen. But this is a race where we can't come in second. To do that, we've got to unleash American energy. President Trump understands that. He
wrote early on about the importance of energy infrastructure. Pipeline permitting is a mess right now. We only need to look to South Dakota, what happened. What do we do about that?
Well, I think there's a number of things that we're working on right now to try to drive through that and create solutions for that. And one of the things that President Trump has really tasked the NEDC with is to make sure we get pipelines done. We're working on a pipeline called the Constitution Pipeline in New York. Governor Cuomo, when he was in office, killed this one twice with a water permit. And one of the things we're looking at, and you know this, Scott, the way pipelines are built, they're horizontally direct drilled. They don't even come close to the water. They go beneath the water course. How are we letting, from a national security standpoint, how are we letting a water permit stop a project? And the water permit talks about climate change. Well, how about the people that live in the 6 states in New England that are paying 3 to 4 times more for natural gas than they are in Pennsylvania?
Right, and your home state of North Dakota needs CO2 to continue the oil and gas transformation that's going on. Don't get it, don't have it. And here's a company that laid in a project, spent a $9 billion project, spent $1 billion of it handing landowners money, and then the rules changed in the end of the game. Like, I mean, what do we do about that?
Well, part of it, one of the things we've actually talked about is creating a sovereign risk insurance fund. so that if someone like is building the Keystone XL, they had $3 billion in the ground, and Biden came along with a stroke of a pen and killed it. And then the people act like there's no financial consequence. That was a private company moving a legal product through a legally permitted method, and then Biden just wipes it off.
What does the fund do?
The fund would, if a new president comes down the road that says, I don't like pipelines, and says, I'm canceling a pipeline that's under construction through an executive order, they would have to pay the company the $3 billion that they already have in the ground.
So it would incentivize more development by having that backstop.
Well, it takes the risk away, but it also creates a conversation, just like the balance sheet does, which is, if Biden...
Why are you making this dumb decision?
Yeah, well, if Biden's going to... If the last week he says, I'm going to take 625 million acres of offshore and then make them untouchable for development, well, was that tens of trillions of dollars from your children, your children's children, wiped off the U.S. balance sheet? Between President Trump and the Secretary of Interior order, we've been able to put that back on. That was when we could unban the ban, reverse it.
What do you got to do? What do you got to do to get the fund? That's a great idea.
Yeah, well, the fund idea is one we're kicking around with Scott Bessent, Howard Lutnick, Chris Wright.
Brilliant.
Get this thing started, because it's weird to think that you would need sovereign risk insurance from your own government, but the climate extremists have gone to such a degree to weaponize against us having energy security that we need to make sure that people invest here. And part of where this idea comes from, there's companies that move their capital globally, and they've decided if you're in the energy business, it might be better to invest your resources overseas, South America, Africa, because they
less environmentally friendly too, I might add.
Right, but they know that they need energy, and they're not going to cut off a project 4 years from now with the stroke of a pen. So we've got to make long-term investing in the U.S. in energy safe and secure, and that's one way to do it.
How do you strike a balance with drill baby drill and the price of oil? Obviously, that price has dipped. Some people say, "Woo, that's going to pull development back." What's the right balance there?
Well, I think it is a balance, but when President Trump says drill baby drill, that's really a broader statement about energy, and he also wants us to map baby map. We got to map where all these minerals are. We don't have all the places offshore, or U.S. Geologic Survey is part of Interior. We've got to get back into the core mission of figuring out where the minerals are in this nation, and then so we got to do that, and then we've got to mine baby mine. We've killed the mining industry, and then we've got to log baby log. We've got to get out and actually do timber development again, as opposed to relying on imports for timber, and then we've got to build baby build. We've got to do all of these things. It's really about restoring America being in the business of doing the hard stuff, as opposed to just, oh no, we're gonna have supply chains from our adversaries where we get all the things we need to do to run our country. That's got to come back to America.
I've been spending a little time at Grand Sky recently. A lot of great things happening there that I know you're aware of, with the Air Force Base and the ecosystem there, the university. Same thing at Grand Farm. Just had the chief technology from John Deere. I understand you met recently with the CEO of John Deere, so a lot of great things happening there. Both Grand Sky and Grand Farm are thinking that you making a return to North Dakota with Elon Musk would be kind of fun to see all this stuff. You think you can get Elon to come to North Dakota?
Well, Elon, there's only one person in the planet that's busier than Elon Musk, and that's President Trump, because Elon's doing a great job, leading the way here and helping us uncover all of this, the waste and excesses in the federal government, which there's plenty. You can attack in any direction and find that, but he's also still the CEO running all these companies. So it's again fantastic that he's contributing his time to support that. But he would like it. The president would like all that, because Grand Farm and Grand Sky, they represent what we've talked about every day, which is innovation, not regulation. It's innovation that's going to solve all of our issues around energy, around climate, around air safety, around missile defense, all the things that we're working on, and food security. I mean, all that's going to come through innovation. You can't regulate your way through a world. And with AI, guess what? Innovation is going to start occurring even faster. The regulations regulatory environment is backward looking. It's in your rear view mirror. You come up with an idea to regulate something. It might take 8 years for the federal government to actually start doing that and create the rules and regulating. By that time, we've gone through 4 or 5 shifts of Moore's Law. There's already a new solution that can solve the problem that you're trying to regulate out. So we've got to keep looking forward here. If we can do that, the sky's the limit for the United States of America.
We look forward to having you back in North Dakota. America 250 event with President Trump will be pretty cool out of Medora. So
yes,
great things are ahead.
Yeah, the Theodore Roosevelt Presidential Library. President Trump has his invitation, and of course that ceremony is going to now celebration is going to run over 4 days. There's so many people that want to come. I mean, we have foreign leaders that want to come to the TR Presidential Library. All living presidents get invited to a presidential library opening, and it's going to be an incredible, unbelievable. It's going to be really a set of days to remember for the entire country. And it is an official USA 250 event. And of course, we've got official USA 250 events happening at all of our national parks around the country. We're going to be key to that. And then part of the responsibility is the national parks is the National Mall is all part of the Park Service. So from the Lincoln Memorial to the Capitol, the Jefferson Memorial, the Washington Monument, we're going to be spruced up and ready to go for USA 250.
Rumor has it you're hosting the NDSU football team on the mall after the big event at the White House today, so that'll be kind of cool.
Yeah, no, yes, we are, and excited to have those champions from North Dakota State here.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
Thank you, Scott.